Neria Hlakotsa has got the latest for us. Neria, what's happening where you are?
Good morning to you. We are here in Galeshewe, specifically Lerato Park. As you can see, the lines here are long. Residents have come out since this morning saying they have to have their voices heard. They have to make that mark on the ballot paper because they are not happy with the situation currently where they live. They are complaining about electricity, housing, and the lack of proper sanitation, saying they also want uninterrupted water supply. But another resident that is joining us right now is Boipelo, just to speak to us about her situation. She is a person living with disability. Let's just find out from her, as a voter, what kind of a change she wants to see. Thank you so much for joining us. Let's just talk about the changes that you want to see in your community.
Firstly, changes I want to see is government must consider us as persons living with disability, and we also need houses that is suitable for us, and roads and transport also. Our transport is not suitable for persons living with disability, and also we need jobs. Government need to employ us so that we can also work for our children, and then government must also help us with our children going to school. We are struggling to get schools for our children also.
And maybe let's just talk also about these changes. Do you think they will happen, especially after today when you've made your mark on that ballot paper?
Yeah, changes. I don't think there will be changes because of if they were planning to change. I think changes would be there long time ago. We've been voting and voting, but nothing's been happening. So maybe this will, I don't know, maybe that will help these votes, but I'm not sure.
So basically, those are the views here on the ground. Basically, people sharing the same views. But of course, I must also mention that some people are quite happy with their way of life currently, saying they've found houses, they have houses now, they have water, they have sanitation. So it's mixed views here in the streets as we move across and look at the various voting stations. I must tell you that the IEC did say that this morning we only had 22 voting stations that delayed to open, but as of anything else, it's okay. There's no disruptions. Remember, in the Northern Cape, at least 623,000 have registered to vote, and 128 of them are from here, the Solblaki municipality where we are.
And from the Northern Cape, we bring it back to studio, and we're joined now by Professor Colette Schulz-Hezenberg. She prefers to be called Dr. Colette. Thank you so much for making the time.
Thank you.
Your area of speciality is voter behavior, and we've been told so far from all the reports that have been coming in that turnout is good. The queues are there. Is this encouraging?
This is encouraging for democracy. We want to see high turnout across our elections. What we've seen in recent years at national and provincial elections is a drop in turnout. And that is concerning for a number of reasons, because it really just burrows into the quality of our democracy and hollows it out. So if we are seeing big queues this morning, I think this is a really encouraging sign. Municipal elections across the years have actually had static turnout. It hasn't necessarily dropped. There have been big question marks about this election because there are a whole range of unknowns, such as COVID. Will that keep people away? I tend to think that if people want to vote and want to make their mark, they will do that today. And I think these high queues are an indication this morning. We always know the mornings are busy, but if there are queues, it is an indication that we should see medium turnout. And this has ramifications for the election results.
Do these long queues match your expectation?
Yes, I think so. I think people are genuinely interested in these elections. They're looking at ways to generate political change in the country. And I think for those of us who follow politics, are engaged with politics, we will certainly be using these elections to make our mark. So what we will be looking at today is what we call the turnout differential. And that simply is understanding what's happening in constituencies that are traditionally constituencies that belong to the bigger parties. So if we see a situation where turnout is much lower in particular areas, say for ANC strongholds, this is an indication that the DA and other parties will do quite well. Not necessarily because the other parties will push into constituencies that are non-traditional constituencies, but a low turnout for the ANC would mean that it bolsters their vote share. But if we're seeing a high turnout or a medium turnout, that's normally an indication that ANC or traditional ANC constituencies are coming to the polls. Now, that does not necessarily translate into an ANC vote. We might see some vote shifting going on the ground, but it does indicate that traditional ANC constituencies may help that party hold on to one or two majorities here and there, because we know that the ANC is in a little bit of trouble in that regard.
And we take you now to Springbok, the largest town in the Namaqualand, and this is in the Northern Cape, the area of the Northern Cape. For the latest on voting, we cross live now to Ulrich Hendricks. Ulrich, what's happening where you are?
Late. Hi, good morning and welcome to Springbok in the Northern Cape. Of course, we're coming to you from Ward 5 in the Namakwa municipality. It's a wet and cold and rainy day, voting day, and perhaps that's why it's so subdued. A lot of people, the IEC had feared that the wet and cold weather will discourage voters to come and make their mark. But what we've seen is actually quite a steady a flow of voters who came here to make their mark. Voting has progressed smoothly so far, not a lot of problems. Just some of the people, some of the voters on the other side of Springbok, on the other voting station where they were basically showing up at the wrong voting station, but IEC officials then directed them to the right one. Let's just see if we can speak to some of the voters in the queue here. Sir, tell us, just if you can stand here for me, please. It's cold, it's wet. Why did you come here to vote today? You can just stand towards the camera, sir.
It's very important to vote. We vote for change. So I'm here to cast my vote. So it's very important.
What is the decision that you make, or how do you make that decision in terms of who you want to vote for?
I don't belong to any political party. As things go along, I make up my mind.
Thank you very much,
Okay.
sir. And that is actually one of the things that we found playing. A lot of voters here that we've spoken to saying that they thought a lot and hard about the choices that they make inside the voting booth, and whether or not who the candidate they're voting for. A lot of people saying that they're voting for change, voting for employment, and those type of issues. Blaine?
Ulrich Hendricks there giving us a sense in Springbok. I don't know if this makes sense to you.